Hello, and welcome to CT Debate's second episode in the speech module. This episode, we'll be talking about NSDA's humorous interpretation, or HI. So, humorous interpretation is a speech event where we use our words to tell a story while making people laugh, and also giving them a chance to think. In other words, humorous interpretation is, while it being funny and you performing like a comedy movie, it should often have a more central message that resonates for a problem or a situation, something that is important that happens around the world. So the definition of humorous interpretation, as I said before, it's an event where you essentially perform your own comedy movie from a source, that being another, like an actual comedy movie, a script, a book, a play, a cookbook for that matter. That's actually been a thing before. Stretched down to 10 minutes. So 30-second grace period, of course. Rather be 9:30 than 10:30 as you start receiving penalties. So some definitions. Blocking is the actions you do to simulate your surrounding, to convince your audience you're a specific person in a specific area, but the audience should be able to understand what you're doing. And then pops are the methods for transitioning into different characters. Definitely don't jump around, do pops. If you need help popping, there are definitely videos online. If needed, like the YouTube comments, and I'll definitely give like a tutorial and like how I kind of learned how to pop. Next is the script. So towards the left, I did give a sort of summary for kind of how the script is supposed to flow. So, of course, you start with the teaser, then you have the intro, the exposition, inciting incident, rising action, climax, and falling action. And generally, towards the performances of the higher caliber, generally have a second resolution, the denouement, sometimes it's called, but generally I just call it the second resolution. It's essentially meant to be there so your audience is comforted. They know that there's a happy ending and they're kind of relieved that there's this happy ending and you're showing it. This is just like a kind of general outline. So of course, like in my sophomore year, like my teaser was like 2 minutes and 15 seconds, but I did make sure my intro ended at the maximum of 3 minutes and 30 seconds because people don't want to be watching your intro and your teaser for that long, because you start going overtime and people not only start getting bored, but are start like, yo, you have to pick it up, bro. Like you're a little behind, like, you know. And then, so selection. So I definitely have a lot of comments to say about the selection. But if you're a starting member, these 4 links I listed to the right are definitely the greatest places to start. If you're a returning member, I'd strongly recommend to not use Donzelitis, because Donzelitis, essentially, he's an author who makes humorous interpretation pieces flat out, and a lot of coaches are familiar with this, and they kind of see his pieces as kind of cheat codes, and they're kind of overused and everything, you know. So I'd recommend, if you're like a returning member, don't use a Donzelitis piece. Of course, check with your coaches to see if they have any archived Interp pieces that they have that you can use, like perhaps a former duo that could actually make a really good HI, or vice versa, you know. And of course, I'd say, like, if you're kind of going for something like this, don't just recycle the pieces that have been used in your league at your local tournaments, because beyond the potential competitive success that may be like attached to these pieces, what really matters in speech and debate, specifically humorous interpretation, is to make something funny on your own. Basically, what I'm saying is that working with your friends, your coaches, is just such a great experience. You start to laugh. You generally gain life moments during these kind of funny blocking scenes. You can do the dumbest things ever. It might work. And while that working, you're having a lot of fun time at the same time. Instead of just like, you know, seeing something online, you're just copying that. Like, it's just not worth it. Also, don't copy national finalists, because you will get caught at some point in time. And of course, there have been teams and competitors who have been banned from competitions, from national to state tournaments, invitationals, because they kind of reproduce the copy of someone else's hard work. And also, it's just flat out rude to kind of do this. These people spend like a full school year almost just working on their piece, and their final round videos are meant to entertain and inform, and not to copy. So of course, and then the second piece of feedback I'd give is that you should strategically pick your HI, because I believe that anything can be an HI. It'll just take a lot more work to make it into an HI. Choose an HI with a strong central message with slapstick comedy, and that often leads to more success. The third thing I'd say is know your audience. Since the majority of your audience are going to be parents or coaches, keep things appropriate. While a good method for kind of trying to see what's funny is to kind of tell yourself a joke and you should be able to like think it's funny, I guess, or like your friends might think it's funny. Also keep in mind that you're going to be performing to parents for the most part. Avoid stuff that's rated R, and personally I kind of learned this the hard way in my sophomore year. I kind of went around with the piece that was rated R for the first semester of my sophomore year, and I didn't necessarily do the greatest. I actually didn't do the greatest at all. I don't think that's necessarily, but I'm just here so you guys learn from my mistakes, and I learned from my mistakes as well. So I'll definitely attach a few links in the description for places where you can find scripts, and of course you can definitely put in the comments like, hey, CT debate speech module, I guess, like, do you guys think that this will be a good piece? Because we'll be constantly responding, like, don't worry about it. So then of course is blocking. So I think something that kind of ties to the whole script aspect is that when you're choosing a script, kind of look at the characters and see your ability to portray them. Will it be unique? And also don't have too many characters. I learned from that in like my freshman year. I had like 8 to 9 characters in my HI, and I definitely should have cut them off, and I didn't have much success in that event my freshman year. So it's all right. You're here to learn from my mistakes anyways. So of course characters, so you should generally like look at some celebrity impressions, try to make them a little niche, stay away from some political satire, not just because you might find something that like offends people, but also just because it's kind of starting to get overused. Like I've seen a Donald Trump, a Barack Obama, it's kind of repetitive at some point in time, and I feel like we're kind of in a situation where it's been done, you know. Definitely look at the lines and kind of follow along and kind of see like what you can do. But that's just voices. Like try to go for some like more niche characters, I guess. Like for example, I've seen Jennifer Coolidge only done twice, and that's a great voice to do right there. Like Jennifer Coolidge, like and of course, like other than voices and characters, there is other stuff for sure. So of course, physical actions. So if you're performing a movie, you kind of have like a cheat code. You see someone essentially like doing something in real time, and like you're like, oh shoot, I could just do what they did right there, right? But if you're like reading from a book, a script, and there's no like specific no specific like pointers for what you're supposed to do, just kind of like look at it, like keep looking at the lines, think, hey, if I was this character, what would I do? You know, what could I do that's funny to do this? Like, you know. Just keep going with that. Of course, there are some very, very like basic physical actions that you could go for. For example, like just literally sitting down in a chair when it's necessary, like writing on a piece of paper. And of course, if you have like any physical talents, definitely use them in your HI. If you can like cartwheel, you can backflip, you can like dance. Hell, if you can dance, that's such an advantage. If you can sing, that's an extra advantage in all Interp events. And then there's transitions. So honestly, generally there's like very few transitions you can do, and like you can be unique with them, I guess. Like you could try to make your own, but generally speaking, that's for very few pieces. Like if you can think of something, right, like go for it, sure, right? But otherwise your transitions might just be like a normal like a pop, like a little mouth, like you going like that kind of thing, or you kind of go like with a little click, like a. But for the most part, the transitions are very straightforward. Just kind of like do anything. Honestly, people aren't looking at your transitions that much. Your sound effects, however, are extremely important. Of course, you can go through an HI without actually having to do sound effects. That's been done before. I think I did that my freshman year. But sound effects, it's your perfect chance you have to like show your audience like you're actually like good, like with your like voice and stuff, and it impresses them for sure. Ways that you'll figure out blocking is just by looking at it, like thinking, hey, what can I do here to make it funny? Oh, hey, what do I think this character is doing? Oh, hey, this person is doing this. What if I do this and also add this along, you know? That's definitely something that is blocking. And of course, if you have like any questions in blocking, for like even if you like want to send us a video with blocking, just send it over. Send it to our Instagram at CTDebate or at CTDebate on all things, including TikTok. Follow our TikTok too. And then practice Practice is one of the hardest things that I think a lot of people struggle with. Stay motivated. Spend some days working on a specific part and memorize it thoroughly, okay? Like, of course, there's been a bunch of memorization strategies you can definitely search online. Other people kind of do this. They repeat the line multiple times in different actions. That's what my duo partner did, and it worked well for him. Of course, you should, like, kind of space out, like, your practice, I guess. Like, prioritize certain parts for certain days. Otherwise, like, it'll really get repetitive. Record yourself for sure. I think I'm going to attach like a little article on why you should record yourself for speech and debate, specifically like Interp events, I guess. You really notice a lot of the problems you have when you kind of like do that, I guess. Definitely keep the freshness. If you feel like the blocking thing you did, like a segment of your blocking, a segment of your piece isn't resonating as well as it used to or it should have, and like you're kind of having the same judges over and over again, change it. Like, even if it's working well, like if you can find something funnier, hell, do it. Like, you know, definitely like keeping the freshness is the main thing in HI. You can't just like, sure, you can like fully memorize, fully cut, fully block out a piece you're in September, I guess, like right like a month after your school starts, right? But that's not always going to work because people are going to constantly be improving. And if you're stuck with the same script and the same kind of stuff, you definitely may not do as well as you would like. These are a list of 10 HI videos that I found online. Right now, the NSDA website isn't working yet, but once it starts working again, like just kind of visit the link. Some of these videos are on YouTube, which I also attached in the description. I know it says 2005 and 2008, and you might be like, oh my god, CT debate, you're insane. You want me to watch a video from 20 years ago? Like, I'm not even that old. Like, my parents are not, okay, probably your parents are that old, but these HIs are so phenomenal. These are the best HIs I've ever seen in my life. The one from 2005, Rinse the Blood Off My Toga, that is easily the best HI I might have seen in my life. I wish I was there in person watching that. He's so funny. 100% would recommend you to watch this. The Witches, I also love The Witches. He has a little Michael Jackson impression that's crazy good. Flaming Hot, of course, that's very current. George Matthew Gutierrez, national champion. He was really, really good, and he's really funny. His piece is very relevant to today's day. And then Kicking and Screaming, Connor Sherry, 2019. Like, it's like all these pieces, they kind of have like a very central meaning, and they're all very funny, but they're also meaningful. If you have a free day and you're like just scrolling on Reels, instead of scrolling on Reels, just go onto YouTube, watch one of these videos. Trust me, when I started doing it, I got so interested. I'm like, yo, I need to be like this guy. Like, I need to be Connor Sherry. I need to be George Matthew Gutierrez. I need to be Jeff Muscarlito from 2005. Like, Varun Rajan from 2008, right? Like, you just have to keep watching these videos. You learn a lot of things. Of course, don't directly copy them, but you do learn a lot of stuff. If you're looking to learn about any more of the events that have been previously mentioned in like previous videos, like Introduction to Interpretation events, like for example, you're still looking out for DI, Duo, POI. I might do a video on original prose and poetry for California specifically later. Definitely make sure to subscribe and follow along with our speech guide, and hopefully we'll be releasing a video every week. I know it's been a little bit long since our last videos, but we've been pretty busy during the summer, and I hope you'll be busy over the summer too. But if you're definitely looking for some videos to watch, again, I added the ones in the description below. And of course, summer is the best time to work on speeches. Like, I know personally I have like 2 weeks of school left, but still, that's enough time to work on. Like, at least try to get a general idea of what your topic is, have some sort of draft of your script available before your school starts. And like, of course, like, while speech may seem a little daunting at first, like once you run your event a few times before you compete, you'll have a lot more fun. You'll not only have a chance of getting more moments, you'll also have a really good chance of getting medals. So again, like, if you have any comments, send them to @CTDebate on TikTok, on Instagram. And of course, thank you for watching. Have a good day.